Check, 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 1, 2. Check, 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 1, 2. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, episode 19, another edition of Hot Topic Celeb TV. Each and every Sunday, actors, producers, directors, Hollywood in conversation. I am your host, DTEFLON on the MIC. Tonight, joining us all the way from CTU. He is the man, he is the myth, he is the legend, he is the one and only actor James P. Morrison. You guys know him as Bill Buchanan in 24. You know him from Space Above and Beyond. You know him from shows like Law and Order, SVU. You know him from other shows such as The Twilight Zone, Captain Marvel, NCIS, Major Crimes, The Orville, Twin Peaks. This man has a resume that goes a mile long, ladies and gentlemen. It is a pleasure to have my friend, my brother, my good from another mother inside the building tonight. James Morrison will be joining us. He is an actor, a musician, a producer. You're going to get to know the inside behind the man with the golden voice like Morgan Freeman. Sit back, relax. If you have a drink, pop it up, and kick back for the next hour. We are going to give you some hot topic in conversation. We're about to connect with my man, James Morrison, and bring him into the building, ladies and gentlemen. Don't forget tonight, if you missed this episode, you can log on to Hot Topic Celeb TV on YouTube. You can find us on Facebook and Twitter. Don't forget, drop your comments in the comment section below. If you have a question for James or myself, we will answer it towards the end of this podcast episode. I want to thank all you guys for joining in. Don't forget, you can find him at James P. Morrison, myself at DTEFLON, on Twitter, on Instagram, on Facebook. We want to thank you guys for joining us tonight. So tonight, he is in the building, the man, the myth, the legend, the one and only, James P. Morrison, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome, my friend.
Thank you.
Welcome to another edition of Hot Topic Celeb TV, episode 19. How are you, brother? How are you doing?
Are we connected okay here? Everything good?
Hold on a second. Let me just give a sound check here. Guys, and if you can hear us correctly, if you both can hear us good, please throw a thumbs up in the comment below that you can hear us both loud and clear. Sound check, 1, 2. If you can hear us both, please drop a message.
Can you hear me okay, man?
I can hear you. I can hear you a little bit. Might have to turn up your volume a little bit, just a tiny bit.
Okay. How's that?
That's better. Guys, if you can hear James, please throw a thumbs up in the bottom comments below.
There they go.
There we go. All right, guys. So how are you doing, man? How are you doing?
Yeah, everything's good here.
Everything is good? How have you been holding up throughout this this never-ending COVID-19 pandemic?
Yeah, it seems to never end. We're doing really, really well here in our little hideaway in the mountains, in the valley of the mountains. Yeah,
okay.
We're safe and healthy and happy, and my boy's colleging from home, so I'm happy about that. We're all good, man.
How have you been adjusting to this whole situation? Like, I mean, just in general, in the sense, not just with obviously, family life, because I think family life, when you're able to spend time with your family more than you're on our busy schedules that we're used to, it's a good thing. But in the sense of the adjustment of just the unpredictability now of the industry.
Well, everybody has their own, perception of this, from their own perspective.
Okay.
And ours is that Seamus, my son, 21 now, pointed this out early on, and he said, we've been through this before, because we went through a health scare with him that required of us the same sort of isolation and care for each other in the environment that we were in, based on his experience with his immune system. So
okay.
It wasn't that different. I mean, he pointed that out, and it was. But the other thing is, as an actor, I mean, it's a very weirdly isolated profession anyway. I mean, we're so in fact, as it's changed, as the audition process and the interview process has changed, I really would rather do that than walk into an office and meet all those people. So
do you find what it's for you? It's less pressure that way. Like it gives you more time to prepare.
no, I don't think you get more time to prepare. I just think it's you control the environment more. I mean, you have more control of what they see
Mm-hmm.
because you have the time to do as many takes as you want till you're happy before you send it in, you know. And then whatever happens from there, you know, is the same interaction, but you've started out differently. Because when you walk into those offices, I mean, you know, you never know what they're gonna
Mm-hmm.
what they're gonna share with somebody and how they're gonna cut it or how or which take they're gonna use if you even get more than one.
Mm-hmm.
So I much prefer it. It's you know, film and television is just not an actor's medium anyway. You have no control over
No.
what ends up, which is you know part of the deal, and you learn to accept it. So, and in fact, I was just going to say I would much rather go into a room and audition for a play with um, you know, in that environment for that medium.
Mm-hmm.
So
Well, I mean, for you, I mean, I want to go back from the beginning. I mean, for
okay.
you, how did you get into one, the business, and two, was it your first choice? Like, did you always have a passion to say, okay, I want to become an actor, or was it something that was sort of just like, I mean, everyone has their own story. I mean, where like for me, I wasn't even looking for this. I wasn't expecting this. It was just one day I walked into my friend's casting agent, agency, and somebody just looked at me and said, "Hey, you look like you could be on TV." And I was like, "What, are you kidding me?" Like, and then I walked into a room, and as you know, when you first step into the business, you really don't know what you're walking into. Like, you have no idea what to expect. And I remember walking into that room when they sent me off to this very first, casting call. So when you don't know the business, you're like, okay, you're thinking from the get-go, like, they want me. They don't want anybody else. They want me.
Mhm.
And I walked into a room, and it was like, literally, there was maybe like 700 black guys that all looked like me, dressed like me, same height as me. So for you, like, what was your situation breaking into the business, and was it your first choice?
No, it wasn't my first choice. In fact, I've been thinking a lot about this because my sister is, my oldest sister is getting on in years, shall we say. She's,
Okay.
and she's in a care facility now, and I've been thinking a lot about her because she's not doing that well.
I'm sorry. I know what that's like, man. My aunt's going through the same thing right now.
Yeah, thank you. So I've been thinking about her, and she took me to see my first play when I was, God, I must have been about 8, 9 years old.
Okay.
I saw Jose Ferrer in Damn Yankees
Okay.
in Salt Lake City, just outside Salt Lake, where I was living before I moved to Alaska.
Okay.
And I think and it was Damn Yankees, so it was about baseball, which I loved, and this thing that I had never seen live theater. And so I just went crazy for it. And I think that was where the seed was planted.
Okay.
Because I wanted to make somebody feel the way they made me feel when I was watching that play.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't understand how to, I mean, that was the first taste I got that was really a thing you could do in life.
Okay.
And it stuck with me. I mean, I didn't start doing it then.
Mm-hmm.
It was another eight or so years before I did that. But that was, I think, where the seed was planted. And I think that's the basis of it is, and I don't know, I like to think that that's the basis of any creative artist, is that they want to make people feel the way they were made to feel when they saw something that they created.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's part of it, a big part of it, I think. So but yeah, I went through a lot of jobs. I've had a lot of jobs in my life, and didn't like any of them as much as I liked the one I ended up doing. So I didn't have as much fun doing them. I didn't, and a lot of them I just couldn't do, and I didn't care to do. So I stuck with that until I sort of wore them down, and they started hiring me for stuff. I think that's basically it. You have to just stick with it. You have to persevere, man.
Mm-hmm. So when you, I mean, so for you, like, how did your first break? I know, like, for you, like, the process for everyone is different. I mean, I know that your first major role was a television show or movie project called Automan. So how did that transparent?
Oh man. You know, that was after years of doing theater. So,
Okay.
you know, I came to LA from theater, from regional theater, and in fact ended up doing that mostly when I first got here. For the first few years I was in LA.
Okay.
I'm not in LA anymore, but when I first got there, I mean, I ended up getting equity contracts to do plays around town, which is a strange thing for an actor to do in LA for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, finally, and I did a lot of auditions for TV stuff, and I finally the day my mother died, actually, I got the call to do that job.
She was watching from above, man.
Well, and I was in Colorado when they called, and I turned them down at first, and I hung up the phone, and my sister said, "What did I just hear? And I said, "Yeah, they offered me this TV thing," and I turned them down. I mean, you know, what am I going to do? I can't go. And she said, "What are you talking about? This is not the same sister; it's another sister.
Mm-hmm.
You can't turn this down. That's, you know, she probably made this happen, man. You know." So, and she was right. There was nothing I could do there. She was gone. So I went and did this thing just in a, you know, I mean, when you're in the throes of that kind of grief, I had no idea what I was doing. I was just going through the motions, and I had to pretend to. The role I played was, and this is a series that was short-lived. It was Desi Arnaz Jr. It was a crazy premise back in the early '80s about a computer cursor that comes to life, you know, as a superhero. So I'm cast as the guy who's the cat burglar.
Okay.
But that's my sort of my gig as a male stripper too. So I go to this nightclub when I'm not robbing houses,
Mm-hmm.
and I dance as Gary the cat burglar. You know, for these women, like at a place like what are those? What's that place called? Chippendales.
Okay.
And so I had to do this scene where he leapt off the stage into this sea of women.
Okay.
And there was no music playing. I had to hear my own music because they couldn't do the sound. And the you know, the ladies are pretending to clap. And you know, smiling and laughing. And I'm dancing to no music.
Yeah.
And, you know, and at one point I stopped between takes, and I just said, "Man, what am I doing? What am I doing here? My mom just died. I'm pretending to be a stripper. There's no music." And I thought, I don't know if I can do this for a living now.
Mm-hmm.
It was the craziest thing. But anyway.
Well, I mean, I think, I mean, for you making that crossover from theater, I mean, and I've always had so much respect for theater actors because I believe that they're the best actors in the world, just because of the fact you said something that resonated to me a while back, and I may have gotten the quote wrong, and if I did, you can correct me, but you said something along the lines that, like, it's sort of like a bomb going off where you can't do it twice. Like, you can never.
Oh,
what was the term?
Yeah, well, you know, that's actually a James Dean quote.
Okay.
I was probably quoting James Dean, where he said something to the effect that dynamite only goes off
That's it.
once.
Dynamite.
Yeah, that's attributed to Dean, and that's
what was the quote again? The full quote?
I think it's that dynamite only goes off once.
Okay.
So, but you know, that's an interesting quote if we're talking about the, you know, our focus or with the work we do as actors. I mean, the truth of it is making, you know, repeating that, making that look like you can do, and being able to do that time and time again, making it look like it's the first time that dynamite's ever going off, is the technique. It is really the only technique there is, as far as I'm concerned, to acting. I mean, you have those, you know, amazing moments where you get one take and you get it right and you don't have to repeat it and they got it and you can move on. But you know, that's not usually the case. You have to match the take before, you have to match the coverage, you have to do all this stuff. You have to be consistent, you know, or they're not going to be able to cut your performance together. speaking of control, I mean, that's really the only control you have as an actor in terms of how they're going to cut it. I mean, you can do, you know, why not help them out making, you know, making your performance consistent and you know, mean anything from coverage to coverage. That's really all you can do, you know.
So you, from the point of view, in the sense, number one, like, you know, jumping into the theater background, into the television aspect, what did you find for yourself the differences? Did you find the medium harder, easier, slower? Like, what was the difference between for you when you made that jump and decided to make that move?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's all psychological. I mean, I have told myself this, that I had trouble adjusting to the different medium coming into it at first. But
Okay.
luckily I met a teacher who taught me that Harry Master George, and I worked with him for about 30 years. I still, to this day, we talk, and he's in his, you know, early 90s now.
Okay.
And a wonderful teacher. And his basic premise is that it's all the same. It's all the same in terms of how you approach the work, and you adjust given the circumstances and the technical considerations. You know, you adjust to meet them. But the basic work is all the same. It's just pretend, and you make it mean something to you, and you learn your lines, and you focus, and you concentrate, and that's you know, you apply that to different things. But the difference, basically, this is what it boils down to: is you've just got, as a stage actor, it's just you and the audience,
Okay.
and the communion between the play
Okay.
and the audience.
Okay.
That's you know, everybody else is gone. The director, there's no editor, there's no anything. It's you, and that's why they call it the actor's medium. You know, live theater.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't happen, you know, on a film or television set. There's just too many other considerations, you know, and you do it in such small pieces, you know, usually.
Do you feel that there is, I guess you would say, when it comes to, let's just say, pressure, do you feel that there's more pressure in theater or in working in primetime and film?
Yeah, no, I mean, you know, I don't. The pressure is all self-imposed anyway, I think. If you can work without stress and fear and anxiety and all that stuff, you're advanced. And if you can do that whatever you do, I mean, doesn't matter if you're doing this conversation that we're having right now, or
Mm-hmm.
the work, or, you know, there are other pressures that you impose on yourself. I think it's all an inside job, you know.
Okay. So, like, for you, in the sense, okay, so you eventually, you know, you moved up the ranks in the sense of the film and television world, and you ended up landing an iconic show, Space Above and Beyond. Tell me how that came about for you, and what was for you the process in getting that role.
Well, you know, first of all, to hear Glen Morgan tell it, and this is the creator, co-creator, and writer of Space Above and Beyond, and we became fast friends and have been ever since.
Okay.
He's family to me. He just said, you know, I walked into the room to audition and I sat in the wrong chair, and so it sort of threw them off, and they just couldn't stop thinking about that, and so that's why they ended up hiring me. So he kind of boils it down to something that had nothing to do with really anything to do with anything. But the truth of the matter is,
Mm-hmm.
and certainly it was his ultimate decision, and the networks, let's face it.
Mm-hmm.
But my friend, oh God, Randy, and man, I'm having a senior moment. His last name just went out of my head. It'll come to me though.
Okay.
He was the casting director at the time who cast it.
Okay.
And he had seen me in a play. Speaking of plays, God, I hate that so bad.
Just call him Randy.
Yeah. So Randy came to see this play that I had done. In fact, it's a play that I met my wife in.
Oh, okay.
In 1988. And he had seen it, as he's told it, you know, 35, 40 times. And it was a pretty popular, successful, award-winning production of El Salvador. And he had seen it so many times, and he finally, when I walked in, he brought me in for this thing, and he said, this is the guy. He said to Glen and Jim, Wong, you have to hire this guy for this. So he was really in my corner.
Okay.
And Randy passed a few years back, and here I am dishonoring his memory it's gone, man. His last name is just gone. Anyway, I'll think of it before we quit.
Randy, rest in peace wherever you are. He hasn't forgotten you.
Randy, rest in peace, and I love you, man.
So for you, like, what was that experience playing that character, and what was your approach in the sense into playing that character?
Again, it was just, man, I'm a Marine in space. I'm a commanding officer of these young hotshot, eye candy jet pilots. So I just had to sort of, make believe that I was a Marine in space, and that was basically it, man. It was gas.
Well, I think that's for you. I mean, honestly, the beauty and as I said, you have been an icon, an inspiration for me, and for so many people, number one, who have stepped into this business. Because when I watch you, it's very similar to our mutual friend Kiefer Sutherland, in the sense of when I see him on set, this presence, this commanding presence of a leader, of a person that knows exactly how to hit every single point at every moment, and sees. It's almost like a quarterback seeing a complete field and knowing, okay, the wide receiver's over here and this person's over there, and hitting every single mark. And I think for you, like, where did you find or say for yourself, or even in retrospect, like, being a person that has taken on these roles and has this sort of commanding presence to be so believable as a leader? Where did that come from?
No idea, man. Honestly, when we talk about this kind of thing, I always think of the quote, the Alan Watts quote, trying to define yourself is like chewing your own teeth.
Okay.
And so when we talk about why we're cast as certain things as actors, and why we come across as certain things, it's just impossible for me to even speculate as to how that works. I mean, you know it when it's happening, because you get typecast as certain things, and you try to break that mold because they think of you as a certain thing, and you can't do anything else. And so you grow your hair long, and you grow a beard, and you do the bad guys for a while, and you think, oh, Matt's going to look different than that thing I did in CTU on 24. So you can mix it up a little bit. But enough about me. Speaking of, you mentioned Kiefer and his focus and concentration, and that's really what it is, man. He just it's kind of superhuman, actually. And when you get that energy and you work with that same energy, because I feel that I can concentrate to the same level. So we met in that moment, and I think there's a mutual admiration, and you kind of see it when we're working together as Jack and Bill too, I think.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. I mean, the beauty to me, like when I look at the Bill Buchanan character, and what at the time when you came on the show, and where Kiefer's character as Jack was in that time space, it was like I couldn't picture, and I think the fans, in the sense, number one, who are fans of the show, could be nobody else that could have played that role better than you, just because of the fact that it was almost like it didn't feel like, okay, CTU director to agent. It felt like almost like a father and son, where you've got the old lion who has gone through. Am I breaking up here?
You're back.
Okay.
You hear me? Okay.
A little bit. You're just, hold on a second. I think you're cutting out a little bit. Guys, can you hear us correctly? If you can, please drop a thumbs up below.
I might need to change out my earbuds here. Okay. Anyway, continue with your.
Yeah, I was saying is that like there was almost like a father and son dynamic where you have this person like where Bill Buchanan to me is a guy who has seen it all. He has been through it all, and Jack necessarily not having that person, I guess you would say, that because he was always used to being the guy that called the shots. And Bill had this way, I think, of being assertive and being firm and being tough, where he wasn't going to be pushed around or manipulated or or even the sense fall into the false sense. When it made sense, he let Jack do his thing. When it didn't make sense, he was like, okay, I'm still gonna let you do your thing, but you're gonna have to prove to me the decisions that you're making are the right decisions. And I feel for you, like when you as an actor are able to come into the way that you came into the show, and the show had already been developed and already had that machine already going, and to me to flow in there the way that you did, I mean, what was for yourself, like when you landed that role, like how did that come about, and what was the process? Because I know how tough the process for 24 casting is.
Yeah, I mean, I was just flying by the seat of my pants, man. It was, I've said this before. It was like joining a train that was moving at a pretty good clip, and they didn't really slow down for you. You just sort of had to run along and jump in, and not knowing the show that well when I joined anyway. I mean, I'd seen some episodes, I'd seen one before I auditioned, and then, but I think that the thing that occurred to me while you were asking me that was, the format of the show, the real time format, the in the moment urgency of the battling the clock and doing all that stuff, that sort of superseded everything. So you really didn't have time to think about, and it was all being revealed to me personally as an actor.
Okay.
Moment to moment. Anyway, I mean, my past story with characters, or what I was capable of doing, or where I came from. I mean, that was all just being revealed to me. I didn't have a lot to go on, so I just had to be open. And I think that's really what I'm saying, is that you just have to go into that sort of experience with a beginner's mind,
So what when you get presented with a role, especially like a role like 24, what attracted you to this character? What attracted you to playing this character?
Well, that's what I mean. I mean, I had no idea. I had no idea where I was coming from. I mean, I knew what the script said. I mean, I knew what you saw.
Okay.
I didn't know anything other than that. I knew that I came from division, and that I was coming in, and I was briefed, on the way over, that Jack had been taken hostage and that I was going to help them get him back. But everything else just happened spontaneously. And so my job was to be as open to whatever was coming at me. I mean, in every context.
Do you feel that because, as you say, the 24 clock, the instant, trying to catch up with, and get everything done in a short period of time, do you feel that your theater background played a major, reason in the sense of why? No?
No.
Wow.
I mean,
okay.
no, I think it was something else. I think it was more my I don't know, if anything else, it was like I said, my ability to just go with the flow, man. I think it was probably my yoga practice more than anything. Because
we're going to talk about your yoga too. Okay, go on.
Seriously, because I didn't have I didn't know anything when I joined the show. Okay. I knew that it was a great show, and I knew that it was that it was going to be a great gig. And I admired the craftsmanship of the series, and I admired the willingness they had to just do anything in the moment, to get the job done, I admire the actors, and I admire, Kiefer was, spectacular on it. So,
to me, I mean, I always felt that show like many others in the sense that and I've said this some time, that if it wasn't for 24, we would not know binge watching TV as we see today. Because to me, I felt that that show set the precedence of, because it was like, as I said, for an hour, you felt you were watching this high budget motion picture film every single week, and you were glued to, you know, it was like a ritual to people. It's like, even when I first started watching, because I mean, I remember I didn't start watching it until the SAG shut down, like when the writer's strike happened. And everyone kept on saying to me before, like, oh, you know, 24, 24, 24. And I was like, and usually when people like overhype something, it's usually not that fucking good. And so when the writer's strike happened, I just like, it's almost like feeling like COVID. You have this time now to be like, okay, well, I'm home now. We're not working. We're not doing shit. Let me put it on. And I remember I watched I think it was your season. It was season 6. And I watched one episode, like literally one episode. And I think when you came on, I was like, whoa, this dude just took the whole temperature of the fucking show to a whole new dynamic that I'm like, you know what? Before I get invested in this and what this guy's about to do, let me go back to so I literally binged, went out the next day. This is back when you used to buy DVDs and shit. And I spent like a fortune, went into every Blockbuster, any place I could find to buy a DVD. And I watched every single episode all the way up until season 6 started. And I was caught up, and I was like, you know, this show to me is something that I personally think it not only raised the bar for television, but it to me launched the careers of so many actors that we see now doing great things on television and other shows that all sort of seemed to come through that show. And it felt like 24 was a master class of acting. Like if you were there, it was either like, okay, you're either getting the ball and you're running with it, or you're dropping with it. So for you, like going into a show where it's so unpredictable, characters getting killed off left, right, and center, was there ever a point before your character got, you know, sacrificed himself? Was there ever a point for you where you came to work and said, okay, like, this could be my day, but I don't know?
Yeah, every time I got a new script, I fast forwarded, you know, I thumbed through to the end to see if I was still there. You know, you got hired to do 2 episodes when I joined in season 4, I got hired for 2 episodes at a time because they shot 2 episodes simultaneously. And I mean, I went episode to episode like that till the end of the season. And so every, you know, I'd get the script of the second episode. You know, we were doing 11 and 12. I'd look at 12 and go, oh, yeah, am I still? Oh, or you know, so that you didn't know. I mean, and that again, it's the moment to moment living and breathing, not knowing when the end is going to come, that sort of makes the show. That's the tension that show creates so well. They did it with the music, the editing, the you know, the way they shot it too was unique to anything I'd ever done, and still to this day is.
What do you feel like? I mean, like, it's a testament, I think, to you. But like, there was actors that would come on the show where, you know, either you'd know right off the bat whether or not they fit the character, you know, or they fit the actors that they were working with. And to me, you just seem to be fit with everybody. Like, it didn't matter who they put in front of you, who you work with. There was always a certain chemistry that like made, you know, where you always wanted to root for Bill, and you always wanted to see. And even to me, like, I mean, what was beautiful, because I mean, I love her as an actress. I think she doesn't get enough credit in the sense of an icon in the industry, is, you know, who played Karen Haynes, your wife, on the show.
Jane,
you know,
Atkinson.
Yes. Like, what, to me, to see that sort of love story unfold, was that something that was sort of thrown together last minute, or was it something that you sort of knew all along that was going to be, okay, this is where Bill's character is starting off and this is where it's going to go?
No, there was nothing. I don't. If they knew that stuff, if they had that stuff planned out, they didn't share it with me. Because it happened between seasons. It happened. We left season 5, I think it was, a certain way. I asked her out to breakfast or something, and she couldn't go, and my heart was broken, and whatever happened, and then in the cut, when we find us again, we're married. So, but no, nobody said to me, oh, so they didn't plan that out to my. And if they did, they didn't share it with me. So that's what I mean, though. I didn't need to know that stuff. I don't need to know what's going to happen at that moment. It just doesn't serve me, to know that in my objective as Bill Buchanan in that moment. So I really admire them for that. I mean, they would say things like, "Oh, just so you know, we're sending you home, but don't worry about it." I remember them saying that to me. At one point, and because I would have gone, knowing that there's this sun in the sky, and it's Jack Bauer, and he has all these planets circling him, and the Earth has a moon, and all this stuff, and that the bad guys are going to eventually shoot those planets out of the sky, and they're going to leave the sun alone, because that's the deal. So you know that going in as a planet that joining this universe, and so. As much as it bums you out, which it did when they,
it bummed everybody out.
They shot me out of the sky. You know it's coming, and you just go, yeah, just like in life, you prepare for it as best you can, but it's coming, and so.
What was that? What for you? Like, for example, like even before that ending episode, like, what is it like in that sort of pressure cooker? Like when you arrive on set to shoot the show and shoot an episode, is it very, very fast paced, like daytime, where you're getting one take and moving on, or is it multiple takes from different camera angles, or is it one continuous thing where you just shoot and then you're like, okay, if that worked out, cool, good, we move on to the next thing?
I'm glad you brought that up, because this is for the people watching, and I see Michael said hello. Hey, Michael.
What's up, Michael?
You see people joining, and every once in a while, actor friends will hop in, or people that I've worked with over the years, and it's important, I think, to know that if you're a fan of the show, it was filmed in a really unique way, to the experience that I had.
Okay.
Prior to that, we shot every scene as though it was a little play. We shot it from beginning to end, with a setup from far away. And then we got closer, and we'd move in, and then eventually the, Guy Skinner, the handheld guy, would join us.
Okay.
That great camera work that he did, and he became a part of the scene.
That's what I heard. I've heard that.
He was our scene partner, man. He would, you would do your blocking and like you were choreographing a little dance with Guy, so he could do the pops of the props and the phones and the computers, and then back up to the thing. And so that stuff was. That was really unique to any way I ever worked before. And then if something happens in the middle of the take, you go back to the beginning of the thing, and you seldom do pickups. It's just like every scene, and you rehearse that way too. You rehearse as though each scene is a little play. And then, of course, the hard part for that is when it ends and you go work somewhere else, and you're working a different way now.
The adjustment.
You make an adjustment, and the adjustment can include, on 24, what we did was, because you can't really say that. So that was a hard adjustment. Leaving in the first place was a hard adjustment, because, as a freelance actor, you're suddenly thrown out to the wolves again.
So on that last day, that because I'll admit, I didn't even see that shit coming, and I knew that show like the back of my hand, and when you got up and ran into that room. There's only been maybe 3 moments in television, and even knowing you, even 3 moments in television as a friend, and I was like, I started crying. Like I was literally crying, because I was like, it's when you know that a show has done its job, where like it sets the show where you think, okay, you know what, like it's losing steam, and it just puts a bolt of electricity right back into it because you're like, if you can fucking kill off this guy, like what other shit are you gonna do? And so to you, like, what was it like for you in that last day on the show?
Well, it was bittersweet. You know, it was sad, and it was a lot of gratitude for having been there that long, and I made some dear friends for life. You know, but it's really, you know, to their credit, to the showrunners' credit, you know, Howard Gordon and Joel and those guys, all of them, that put this thing together the way they did. That if they can, knowing their formula is what it is, and they're going to do something outrageous at every turn, and you're still surprised and moved by something like that. That you know, the other thing is, when I think about this very thing is, because I loved being there so much, and it was such a great place to work, and I was so sad when it had to end. You know, you look at those shows like that you really start to love the characters in, like The Sopranos, or any of the ones that are really the character-driven things. And this really wasn't a character-driven thing, except for, you know, a couple of characters. But I mean, mostly it was plot-driven, and it was a formula, you know. But they invented their own. You know. You know, you really get pissed at them when they kill people you like. Oh yeah. And I mean, I've been pissed at showrunners and shows too. I've just gone, man, what'd you do that for? Just, I mean, it wasn't you. If you liked the guy, it's one thing. But what I mean is, if you didn't like the actor and you killed him because you just couldn't stand working with him, that's one thing. I get it. But if you just do it for, I don't know.
See, but the thing, the beauty about that was the way that, for example, like what you just said, like, you get pissed, but it's like almost like they had this methodic way of doing it where, like, you hated the character of a certain actor at first, and then right towards like the very ending of their last episode, they would do something heroic where you're like, fuck, I start liking that guy now. Like when you look at Sean Astin's character as well, like I could not stand him in every episode, and then literally it was like as you started to feel and you started to root. And I remember him running through, you know, trying to, you know, to get back to the room before the gas took over. And I remember like watching that scene, going like the music of Sean Callery going and taking you on this ride, and I'm like, this is when, you know, for example, as I said, like this show, to me, I think has. I think for anyone that's ever acted on that show, it's got to be a blessing. It's got to be something that, you know, even if you're on it for a day, even if you're on it for 5 minutes, you're going to. The writers always found a way to leave a character that you didn't really think to care about. Like even, for example, like Louis Lombardi, our friend Edgar. You know, you didn't really feel until that last moment when he made that facial expression and said, Chloe, and then dropped. And it was almost like, okay, like on another show other than 24, a character like Edgar, a character like Chloe would be almost like a background. Like they wouldn't even be someone that you go, okay, well, they're dead. Okay, I'm just going to go on. This way had a way of, to me, of systematically growing characters organically and making you, as you said, you fall in love with them, and you want to know more about them. And even for you, like you, to me, and I think even, for example, a lot of people probably don't pick this up, but I look at Bill Buchanan had another character, and the other character was your iconic voice, brother. Where did you get this iconic voice that you have that's like a Morgan Freeman? Like when Bill would talk, or even just you as a person, you tune everything out and you listen. Where did that voice come from?
Oh, you know, I don't know. That's really nice of you to say that. I can't even begin to think of myself as in the same. Anyway, that's not my job to do that.
I do.
Thank you, man. I don't know. I do know that I went through a lot of years where I was told that I had vocal problems. So I think when I was a young actor, and I did actually, because I didn't know how to I didn't know how to, breathe and use my instrument. But, oh God, I was thinking of something you were talking about when I wanted to address, but it'll come to me.
Okay.
I just, buddy, I just can't answer that. I mean, the first part of the question got me when you got to my voice, and I went, man, I forgot everything I was going to say. You freaked me out, man.
No, listen, man. It's to me. I mean, like I'm surprised you have not done more voiceover work.
Oh, yeah. Well, I am too. Thank you, man. Appreciate that. Here's what I was going to say. You were talking about the writing.
Okay.
And I was going to say that, I remember Howard Gordon came to the showrunner, executive producer, who wrote, I don't know, most of it as far as I can remember. He was in charge of the last, I don't know how many seasons of it.
Okay.
Talent. And he came to see us in the hospital when we were in the hospital. I referred earlier to some time we spent in the hospital with my boy.
Seamus, yeah.
And we were standing there, and he was, we were in ICU or outside ICU or something, and there were a few people there. And one of my friends, Seamus's godfather, actually said to Howard, I introduced him, and he said, "Oh, yeah, I was pissed at you for killing Bill Buchanan." And Howard just very calmly said, "But I'm the guy who hired him too, so." and I just was standing there nodding, because you can't, they did right by me. That's what I'm saying. I mean, I'm very grateful to them for the way.
Well, I mean, him going out the way that he did would be the only way that Bill Buchanan. I mean, for me, I think what left me unsettled with that situation was what was his relationship with Karen Haynes, like with his wife at that time, because I was like.
Yeah.
When just the fact that, was he not thinking about her? And that's what made
right? I didn't even call her and say goodbye.
Exactly. That
she knows I was thinking of her. The very last thing before I fired that gun.
So, like, for you in the sense, number one, like, you have also, dabbled, of course, as into music. Where did the music come from? Where did the passion for music come from?
Well, I think it's the same thing that I said before about when I was influenced by certain artists when I was young. I mean, and I heard Bob Dylan for the first time, and the Byrds, and the Who, and I mean all those guys that even before that. I mean, when I was really little, I put "Rip It Up" on the 45 of Elvis Presley singing "Rip It Up."
Okay.
And I just play it over and over again. Leave the arm up on the record player. You're too young to remember that. So it would just continue. It would just go back and repeat over and over and over. And I mean, I wore it out. And I thought, I think you want to, as an artist, regardless of what you do, there's a certain period in time where you go, I'm going to emulate this. It's not comparing yourself to anybody else, but you want to emulate what they did that made you feel the way you feel.
Mm-hmm.
So however that means is you discover what your offering is, or you discover your gifts, or however you want to put it. You set out to emulate that kind of thing. The musician that moved you, the poet that moved you, the actor that you loved. You just go, okay, I'm going to figure out how to do this in my way.
No, and I feel that. I mean, both of us being musicians. I mean, I know when I used to tell people, number one, I'm like, there's something that when you are in a zone in music, and you just get into that groove, and you get into that feel of something, that it takes over, and it almost like an out of body experience where you become a different person, because it's almost like you're free. It's almost like a bird flying, and you're like, you know what? And I remember I used to perform, and I'd be closing my eyes and doing different things, and it made everything that was going on in the world just sort of fade away. And I think that, to me, is what I've always said. The beauty about music is that it's the universal language of love. No matter what type of music you're writing. Like, it's the one thing that we all are connected to as humans. Like, where if you're sad, listen to music. If you're happy, listen to music. I mean, there's so many things that you could think about, even per se, like a song you heard for the very first time before you proposed to your wife, or when you proposed to your wife, or when you had your first kid, you know, all these things that take you back. So for you, like, what do you find for you the difference is, because we both do it, the difference between music as about like performing music in front of an audience and performing on stage in front of an audience?
Yeah, you know, I had an issue with that for a while because I went through a period of time where I had, and this goes way back to when I first started acting because I was so shy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you could barely get my name out of me. If I was okay with on a one-to-one, but if I got in a group of people or in front of people,
okay,
forget it. I have to completely submit utterly and totally into this pretend, so that if there's any room for any kind of thought about, oh my God, I'm performing for people,
mm-hmm.
I lose my nerve. I mean, the difference between excited and nervous becomes enormous, and I can't do it. So when I'm,
that's funny that you say that. Sorry to cut you off. That's funny you say that, because I remember being on set with Kiefer one day, and he pulled out his guitar, and he said those exact same words. Like, before he started touring and doing what his music was doing now, I remember I was like, you know, he was just sort of playing around. I was like, why aren't you going and doing this for real? Like perform, like go out there and do a tour. And he was just like, same thing. He was just like, playing for myself is one thing, but I don't really think that I'm like that good. And I think that's the pressure that I think musicians all have, but it's just getting over that. And then once you get over it, it's,
you know, I don't know. Some of them probably don't, man. They're so confident in their technique and their ability and their you know, how they express themselves through that they don't have to think of it. You know, I can't speak for Kiefer. I don't know what he went through to go to break that barrier between him and performing his music. I mean, I'm glad he did, because he's finding great success, and people, you know, dig listening to it. What I had to do was finally just go, you know what, I'm a storyteller. This is how I'm going to tell my story in this moment. I'm going to tell it with my guitar, and I'm going to sing it. So I had to literally, I think, pretend to be a troubadour, or you know, whatever you want to call it. And this is my story. This is how I'm telling my story in this moment. And here's my story, and I had to embody that. Or if I thought about, I'm going to sing in front of people, oh man, I couldn't do it.
Trust me, because I've tried to get you to come out and perform at a couple of events, and you're like, next one. I'm like, yo, man, just come and do it, and come, because I know you can kill it, bro. I mean, I've heard your music. I mean, for you, like, when you say like it's telling your story, so where do you find?
Oh wait, I'm sorry, hold that thought.
Yep.
Somebody saying here, he says it was Jude Cole. So I take that to mean, you know, Kiefer probably had his friend saying, listen, dude, you can do this. You are this. Do this. Yeah, I don't know. No. You can do it, man. You can do it. And he, you know, so yeah, we have those support people. We have those, and you know, you said something earlier. I wanted to sorry to interrupt you, but
yeah,
I wanted to come back to this, because all we need is that kind of encouragement from somebody that we believe in, somebody we trust. If they say, hey, I read your thing, man, you got to keep writing. I mean, seriously, keep writing. You go home and you take it and you go, oh man, okay, I'm going to keep writing. That's all you need. It's that gives you hope. It gives you, you know, motivates you, because somebody acknowledged you. Somebody acknowledged your effort, and it's no different than. That's why when you go into and I feel this way genuinely, when I walk into a room and audition, and it doesn't matter if I leave it in the room and somebody says, man, thank you for bringing that. Wow, thank you. You know, you shake hands and leave, and you walk to the car, you're just going, I don't care if I get the part or not, man.
You just got that acknowledged.
I did everything I could do, and I left it in the room. then of course there's that 10% that goes, oh
Of
God.
course.
I mean, but you know that's just it. You gave it all. You gave it your all, and somebody encouraged you to do the next one.
I guess I got to keep being that encouragement for you, bro, because I'll keep bothering you until I get you on stage. Because to me, it's like, you know what? I think, and as I said, like I whenever I've done seminars and I've ever done like speaking engagements, like I always talk about you, and I always talk about the fact there's certain people that in my 26 years in this business where I feel that, like, you know, as performers, we take a little bit from everybody. You know, you take something from here and you take something from there, and then, as you said, you try to make it your own. And to me, when I see people, number one, like yourself, who are, you know, because again, as you know, in this business, there's, you know, 20 years ago, 25 years ago, people had this attitude where they're like, okay, I'm just going to be an actor, and that's it. They didn't even if they had other skills, they're like, I'm just going to be an actor. And I always tell people, number one, especially now, especially in the pandemic that we're living in, how the business has changed over the last 26 years. You can't just be one thing, especially if you want longevity in this industry. Because like take, for example, you know, you could look at certain characters, you know, certain actors, and we can even use, for example, Kiefer as an example. He played Jack Bauer for so long in that character. And after the show ended, he went to Touch and did that show. And people who have been watching him in this character for so long expected Jack Bauer on Touch. And they couldn't connect. And then the show didn't last. And then he went to another show. And I've always said, like, you know, in the business as actors, people, and the ones that don't know the game, who are just watching from a fan perspective, they think, okay, when you have an actor who is beloved by millions, he's been playing a certain character for so long that when that show ends, the minute it ends, all these offers are going to be waiting at the front door like, hey, we want you on our show. And I tell people, like, what they don't realize is that when you've played iconic characters, say like Steve Urkel in Family Matters, or you played, you know, Screech in Saved by the Bell, these characters that people know, it's almost like I tell them, like, when the show ends, they sort of want you to go away. Like, they want you to go away and disappear for a while. And I didn't get to ask you this question too, because I feel like if you don't figure out a way to reinvent yourself and come back with something fresh when you're, you know, going for a new show, and that's where I look at for you, like, was the approach when you left the season 5, or even not season 5, when you came back for season 7 on 24, you came back with the beard, the hair. Was that just part of your process of saying, okay, I want to reinvent myself as a new character or a person? And the second part of that question is where do you, as you said, telling your story with the other roles that you have gotten after 24, has the music been able to allow you to tell the story of the evolution of James Morrison as a individual, as a human, and then you apply that into the roles that you take and what type of roles that you take in the characters that you choose?
You know, I guess if the opportunity presented itself, you know, I certainly, but let me see if I can. You went a lot of different places.
Yeah, I know. So okay, so first we'll go with the sense of, number one, the music. That like, where do you get?
You're talking about when you know, inventing yourself and
exactly.
Stuff. You know, listen. I think I talked about this the other day when I was interviewed by a friend about the closing of the Center for Yoga in Los Angeles.
Okay.
He was there since the late '60s, and I taught there for 10 years, and it closed down not too long ago.
Okay.
As a result of the pandemic, and all, you know, the teachers, I had stopped teaching it for a while, but we all had really great memories. So we were talking about I was talking about, going from teaching to back to work, because I was doing it while I was on 24. I was teaching.
Okay.
And jumping from one thing to the other. And I think, this is just how I apply it to myself. I mean, somebody else may approach it differently, but I think if I do whatever it is I'm doing that expresses a different part of myself.
Okay.
If I do that from my most, and this is sometimes a struggle, because sometimes we're incapable of accessing our most authentic self.
Yep.
And so if we do whatever we do from that basis, then there's no, it's a seamless thing, moving from one thing to the other. There's not changing hats or doing this thing. I'm going to become a different personality when I, a different persona, because when I sing, I'm going to sing like this, I'm going to sing with this kind of accent, because I'm doing a different character, that's just, it's just me.
Mm-hmm.
And I think anybody who does different things will say, I think similar things. They just go, this is just expressing another part of myself that can only be expressed through this medium. Yeah.
So like the second part was like your change of appearance when you.
Oh yes, now that you mentioned,
because I missed your clean shaven, bro, and I missed that look, and I remember I'm like when you first came back, I was like, what the fuck is this guy doing with this beard and hair?
Yeah, he let himself go. What the hell? Yeah, I think that probably was part of it, and I usually try to work without.
Was that because he was more like a rebel? He was coming back more of a rebel.
Not I'd been fired and left the circle that I was in, and so I just became sort of a rebel. Yeah, I started wearing turtlenecks. That's pretty ballsy, man. I didn't shave, and but as an actor, I think I probably a lot of time had passed between each day.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but also, yes, you're pulling the covers on me, man. Yeah, I don't usually work with vanity, I try to work without, but I think at that one moment I said, I want to go back looking a little different, because it's been a long time, and I don't have to put it quite as much, there goes the gray in my hair.
When you came back with a different look, did you let them know that you had changed your appearance, or was it just like you sort of just sprung up and say, "Hey, this is how I look now. This is what I'm doing. This is
yeah." I had long hair in this thing, and I pitched it, and I remember somebody said, "Nah, it's too Colonel Sanders." So they said, "Yeah, just get a trim and trim your beard." But it was just it was me trying to do that, and thanks for bringing that up, man.
For you, did you after being off the show for a bit, when you came back, was it like, because I know
here's somebody commenting here that the new look made a whole lot of sense for sure.
He wasn't with the government anymore.
Yeah. See, I was a rebel. You're right. I didn't have any. I didn't have to conform to the dress standards and Anyway.
When you came back, I know some people, when they say, with certain things, when they've been on a show for a long time, they know the crew, and then they step back after, being off the show for a minute. It's like picking up right where you left off from the first take. Was it different for you when you came back compared to when you were there on a regular basis?
Oh, no, it was going home. It was, well, but because I started the season, if I remember right.
No, because I remember there was a period of time where you weren't there, they didn't. I guess the way.
I ended season 6. I went to the end. Started season 7. That's what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Right. I don't know how many episodes. I don't frankly know when I came in. It wasn't the first one.
No. Oh. Because it was. I think it was like 3rd episode in.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, there was no different. It was the same. It was the same people that I loved working with, and same high tension stakes, and edge of your seat nail biter stuff. It was It was just that we were renegades on the outside now, Chloe and I. And as I remember it, right? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
isn't that the one where I had to disguise my voice and
Forrest,
Jack
yeah,
called me and
exactly.
yeah. Speaking of
Deep Sky.
deep voices, yeah. Now I want to ask you something.
Yep,
See,
go ahead.
because all these great questions are coming up as we're talking. Are you
Okay, yeah, let's
do you do that? Do you
Yep,
get yeah? Do you?
yeah. So hold on, guys. Let me check some of these questions here, and then hold on. Let me plug this in. Hold on 1 second. Guys, if you have a question, you can drop it here below.
So yeah, every once in a while I'll see that people jump in and I'll go, hey, that's a friend of mine. How you doing?
We can actually probably take a caller in here as well too.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Guys, if you want, I'm going to take a caller. So if the next person that wants to jump in and ask a question, I will connect you into the live.
And if you're caller 27, you'll win
you'll win a car. You get a car, and you get a car.
You probably didn't do that because you're a lot younger than me. But man, when I was a kid, and we had dial phones, man.
So did I, man.
Really? Yeah. So you're calling the radio to win the radio.
I actually still have my dial phone that spins.
Do you?
With, yeah. I it's one of those iconic things that, you know what, I don't ever let go. I look back.
It's a great thing. Sorry.
Yeah,
listen, it reminds you. Speaking of music, that reminds you of your past, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I remember, calling, trying to be caller 56. No, you're caller 36. You're caller 37. You're caller 42. You're caller 62.
No, I mean, listen, man.
It just jumped over me.
For me, I especially during these times that we're going through, I mean, I miss a lot of the things of the 70s, the 80s that I grew up, experiencing. Yeah. And because life to me was more simple, it was less chaotic. People were more kind. And even to me, like, and I want to get into this, especially when it comes to social media. You have been like me since, over the last, I took a break because, as you know, all the crap that I went through, dealing with stalkers and everything else. But I know that, you became very, very vocal on Twitter and on social media, and to me, a lot of times you saw this, as I said, this Bill Buchanan style come out in your approach. And I think that, a lot of people have probably asked this question because a lot of the points, if you guys do follow James on Twitter, he would make a lot of great points about things that are going on to today's society, the way that, the country is being run, and I'm sure that, and I've said
what he's trying to say is I'm very opinionated,
he's very opinionated, but the difference is that, to me, there's a difference between having opinions and having facts. And for me, I'm like, okay, look, I'll debate with anybody as long as you have facts. Don't just start spewing a bunch of bullshit that don't necessarily make any fucking sense.
Right.
And that, to me, is where, the difference with you is that a lot of the things of the way that I see things, you see things, were a lot in line, and we're not just talking about, politics from the government, but I'm just talking in a sense of decency, human beings, of treating each other, and the things that, number one, that, for example, people in our industry, who are more quiet because they're worried about, their brand, or they're worried about their image, or they're worried about, being attacked, or worried about, them costing a job, them getting a job. And I think for you, I'm like, you know what? This is a guy that I saw through for myself as a black man, dealing with the situations that I deal with, not only in the industry itself of racism and shit like that I've encountered, whether it be on a set or whether it be in any aspect of the business, but just overall as a black man in society. And to see someone, a brother who I consider a brother, as an ally and using his voice to not be quiet on issues that don't necessarily just, and this is why I've always said, you know, what happened with George Floyd, what happened with Breonna Taylor, what happened with all these situations that we've seen transpire over the last several years with police and killings and everything else, is that I've said this is not a black thing. This is not a white thing. This is not a brown thing. This is a human thing. This is a people thing. This situations that have happened can happen to anybody, a person that we love. It could happen to your son Seamus. It could happen to, you know, anybody out there. And to see someone not be afraid, not give a fuck about what somebody else has to think, but stands by the fundamental principles of being a decent human being, to stand up and say, you know what? You got this person in power who is not necessarily doing what is in the best of the country. But to me, I've always said, it don't matter who the fuck is in that chair. Doesn't matter whether you vote for Obama, whether you vote for Hillary, whether you vote for Reagan, whether you vote for Trump. At the end of the day, the only people that have the true power is us, the individuals, humans, to make the changes to say, you know what, I want to end the way this shit happens. I want to end this, and it's you. But unfortunately, we live in a society where, and Obama said it best, there are so many people that love to talk from the bleachers, but they don't want to get into the game and fight. They don't want to get into the game and get their hands dirty. And to me, the way that I watched you over the last several years be vocal on Twitter and take that commanding presence and say, you know what? You know, because again, people would look at you, and from the demographic in the sense, number one, that you would expect, you know, you're the opposite. You're the opposite in the sense of where you're looking at, okay, you got a white guy in the sense, number one, who's saying, they're saying like, look, I'm not going to stay quiet on situations that, even though you may not walk through the same shoes that I walk through and see the same things that I see as a black man in the industry and on the street, but you know the difference between what's right, what's wrong, and not being afraid to be an ally and a champion and a voice. And I've said this to you before. Did you ever consider running for office? Because I think you'd be fucking great. And two, do you feel that, number one, your interest in politics and the things that, you know, you've been vocal about, did that cross over from the time when you came on 24 in a time where the world was, to me, what I say is when the world got broken? It was 9/11. It wasn't what we're dealing with right now. It was 9/11 in the sense when 24 came out and being in the climates of terrorism and all the things that are happening. Do you feel that for yourself that played a part in why you're so vocal on social media?
No, no, not really, because of the era that I grew up in. You know, I mean, I grew up in the Vietnam era, and narrowly escaped being drafted to the Vietnam War at a time when it was at the height of its unpopularity. You know.
Okay.
So I mean, that's when I came of age, and I came of age politically, you know, during a very tumultuous time, and we were very divided. Everybody's divided as we are now. I mean, we just didn't have all these different means of expressing ourselves. You know, I mean, you talked about you know, how ugly it is now, but you know, when the times are, we've got these you know, the social media and stuff. But you know, what we also didn't have when I was growing up was we could never sit here on this telephone
and do what we're doing right now.
Like this, and people, you know, watching us. And I mean, that's so amazing.
But this is the thing. This is what I've always said, that, you know, we live in a society now where people talk about each other and not talk to each other. And I always say, like, you know, the biggest problem that we have in society just as a whole, we don't communicate. Like people express their opinions, and
Mm-hmm.
understand it's like you may have your opinion, I may have my opinion, but it doesn't necessarily mean that either or is right, either or is wrong. I think it boils down to respect. And and someone said here, Sacred Heart 21 said, known personalities tend to be careful in their post and prefer to craft the perfect response. What I appreciate about you is that you speak from your heart without filter.
Well, thank you. Although I must admit that, you have to kind of, there's a little bit of craft involved in that too, because if you want to be, you want to make sure that you're expressing yourself. It's a tricky thing because you've got so little space to do it in. And have I made mistakes? Yeah, I've made mistakes, and I've apologized a few times for being, I don't know, a little too strident, maybe, and a couple of times even wrong. And so that's what we're here to learn. I think is what it boils down to.
Mm-hmm.
And not that I'm an authority on much, but I do know that if we're open to that responsibility and keep an open mind, as going back to the first of the discussion where we're talking about the beginner's mind and just going with the flow. I think if we're really listening to each other and with a sense of what is the difference between wrong and right, then I think it's our responsibility to speak where we can and to use that responsibility wisely. I mean, no matter how whether you're well known or not, whether you have how many followers you have, if you have 6 followers, I mean, they're still listening.
Mm-hmm.
And you want to.
Well, I look at it. It's like a pebble in a water. It's like a ripple effect. Like it starts at the front of the pond, and it starts to skip. And I think, and as it gets closer and closer, the ripple effect gets bigger. And I think that you being that voice in the industry, and I think number one, I don't look at it even just being a voice in the industry, but like, have you ever considered getting into the
No,
politics game?
no.
Why not?
It's a full-time job, man. I'd have to give up everything else I do, and I'd have to, and the other thing is that I'm just terrible at asking for money. I mean, that's really what it boils down to. I cannot do it. If I could ask for money, I would have made 5, 10 films by now.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the hardest thing for me to do, and you end up being beholden to people that you don't want to be beholden to, unless you are really good at not being beholden to them for it. But even those that we admire the most end up compromising themselves because they were lobbied or they took money from somebody. That's why we have to hold all their feet to the fire, no matter if we support them or not. We have to call them out when they're wrong, and encourage them when they're right. And,
someone said here, James kept me sane last year because I was seeing and reading comments that assured me that others think like me.
Oh, that's nice. Well, whoever that is, I'm sure kept me sane too. Because
that is J Michael _official.
Okay, yeah, sure. You kept me sane too, man, because we're all in the same boat. We're all we sink or swim together.
So, like, do you ever feel like, especially right now, like with the state of where the world is and the economy and the industry, and just in the sense of this divide that we've been on for the last however many years, do you ever feel that it will ever come to a point that we can all be, as they say, be as one?
No. I mean, I don't think that's pessimistic of me either. I think it's just realistic.
Realistic.
But listen, there are some of us who are gonna make it our mission to make sure that we're taken care of and we're taking care of each other. And there are others. This is why I say this, because there are others whose mission is to work exactly against that. And so, you know, those of us who want to help each other and know that that we need each other and we're responsible for each other are going to take care of that. We'll even take care of the ones who don't want to take care of anybody. But they're never going to, you know, I mean, it's a willingness to, you know, like I don't know, I said something today about I have a friend who was an ardent supporter of the last president who, you know, and you know, he wants to talk politics, and I just go, man, I don't want to not like you. Why do you want me not to like you? Why can't we have a relationship without that? Now he to me, he admires an ideology that really isn't all that into helping the other or even acknowledging the other.
Well, I think my attitude, I mean, for me, I try to stay out of talking out of politics just in general, because there's just some people's ignorance you're just not going to change their mind, no matter what. So why spend that effort on energy? Exactly. Yeah. And that's why I tell people, number one, is that I don't care who you vote for. I don't care whether you're for a mask, against a mask. I don't care whether you're for Trump or not for Trump. I don't care whether you're for staying inside or going outside. Because to me, I say this, you know, and I've said this literally probably 100 times since the year 2020, the ending of it and the beginning of it. 2020, for all of us, humans, doesn't matter who you are, what race you are, it needed to happen. It needed to happen for one reason, because when you think of the term 2020, I'm wearing glasses because I can't see. And when I have my glasses on, I have clear vision. That's the definition of 2020. It meant for all of us to open our eyes, to see exactly what's in front of you, where you stand, who's beside you, who's against you, what you're for, what you're against, and most importantly, it's self-reflection in that time frame of 2020 to sort of see, okay, am I doing what I'm supposed to be doing? Am I on the path that I'm supposed to be on? Am I living my best life? And understand, when I say living your best life, before 2020, me, you, the people watching this, we were all going at our own pace, James. We were all just doing our thing. You were going to work, I'm going to work, this person's going to work. So all of these things that we're seeing, Black Lives Matter, the Trump stuff, this stuff, that stuff, all these things that are in our faces every single day, social media, on our phones, the only reason why we're seeing this shit is because we're at home. And coronavirus forced the entire world to stop and say, okay, shit's fucked up. Like, shit is really fucked up. So you need to figure out, okay, at some point, this coronavirus shit, this lockdown, it's going to be over. So are you happy where you are in your life? And to me, when I look at it, I'm like, okay, 2020, in a sense, is a wake-up call for most people to realize that, number one, we only have one life. Like, legitimately. So all this bickering and bullshit on Twitter and Facebook, and I don't like this and I don't like that, and this person, you know, saying you're an idiot because of this, because I think a lot of times when you see people on social media, and trust me, I've had to hold my tongue because I have so much respect for you from not assassinating people online. When you've had certain views and they've said certain stupid shit, where I'm like, you know what? Like, if you even knew this man's character, you wouldn't even be saying half the shit, because as I've realized is that people on social media, they can't really fucking read, and they can't comprehend even what they're reading, because they're so quick to just attack without even actually having a conversation, without actually listening. Like, and this is why I tell people, God gave us all 2 ears, 1 mouth. More listening, less fucking talking. to understand what someone's trying to say and understand it's not about, okay, this is this. And it's like, if you listen and calm the fuck down, instead of just, but it's like the minute you even type something and you put Trump, automatically, before you even finish your sentence, you're getting attacked. Or if you say Hillary, you're getting attacked. Or you say this, Obama, you're getting attacked. And it's just like, okay, we can have differences with each other, but why can't we have respect for each other to respect those differences? But people nowadays, I think that they're so focused on bringing the negative energy. And this is when I say that prior is that we only get one life, James. We only get one life in this planet that we're on. So why are you going to spend your energy focusing on shit that really don't matter? Because when I look at when people sit there and say, well, I'm for this president, and I'm for that president, and I'm for that president. And I'm like, hold up a second. In all of your, and I'm going to ask you the same question as I asked somebody last week. In all your years on this earth, from the time you were born, from the day that you lost your mother, rest in peace, was that president at that time, when your mother passed, did they show up to your front door, James, and say, James, it's going to be okay? I'm sorry for your loss?
No,
exactly.
I don't remember him doing that.
And all your years on earth, in whether it be loss, whether when you lost a job, whether when you got fired from a job, whether when you had your first kid, when you bought your first cat, when your sister was sick, did any one of these presidents that people go so up in arms for do anything for you to change those situations, to be there to comfort you, to be there to hold your hand? No. So I'm trying to understand why people spend so much fucking energy worrying about Trump, worrying about this person who truly doesn't even know, A, you exist, and B, doesn't give a fuck. So you should, to me, focus on yourself, focus on the people that you love, your family, the things that matter the most, because in the end, when we all have the same thing in common, James, and which is why I respect you, which is why I respect the things that you say, is because I say this is that we all have the same thing in common. We all die. Like, we all end up in the same fate. So if I'm not living my best life and I'm worrying about someone else who doesn't give a shit about, because again, it doesn't matter who we put in power. At the end of the day, we control our own destiny. We control our own fate. We control how we treat each other. So I say, the only thing that I can say is that, like, if anything that people could learn from what we have gone through over the last 4 years is just to be fucking kind and do the opposite of what this individual was doing. And the world, to me, would be in a lot better place. But it just feels like you're fighting a battle that you're never going to win. And that's why I said, you know what? 2021, I don't want to hear about fucking politics. I ain't getting involved. Somebody wants to, you got your point? Cool.
Yeah.
I'm going to let that be.
Yeah, no, you're right, man. And like I said when we first started talking, we each individually have our own perspective and perception of what's happened in the last year. But the fact is, it's not something like, we have an expression in my house when something happens that we get upset about, or it's trying or challenging. It's that we just say, it's just not brain cancer.
I can't hear your mic cut out.
Oh, am I back?
Okay, now you're back. Now you're back.
Yeah, that's our perspective of trial and tribulation. Whatever is the greatest obstacle we've ever had to overcome in our lives, we compare to what we're going through now, and but we're all going through this together. I mean, we really are. So you're right. If this shows us anything, it's that we are all in this together. And I know it's a cliche, but man, it's a cliche for a reason. because it's true. So if we start by being kind, and if we start by, enabling other people to be kind and encouraging other people to be kind, I'm losing my battery, man. This must mean it's time for us to.
Do you have a charger? I don't want to cut you off.
I've got my headphones plugged into it.
Oh, it's one of those. Oh, you don't have the.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I have you have the old-fashioned one. I have the new-fashioned one.
See, I'm old school. That's why I said I would have done the Zoom, but we would have been chopping up all night.
You have a dial-up cell phone, man. That's...
So I want to quickly ask you then. You had. I know you've been producing a play. Tell me about that.
I'm going to try these earbuds again. See what happens. And plug my phone in.
Okay.
Can you hear me, man?
Yep, I can hear you.
Okay, great. I'm going to give myself some power.
Okay.
Yes, you were talking about.
Yeah, I know you were producing a play. Tell me about that.
Oh, the play that I wrote.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yes, my one-man play that I wrote about myself.
Okay.
It is. It's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
So for the people who haven't seen that, tell them about what the play is about, what the name of it is, where they able to see it anywhere.
Yeah. It's called Leave Your Fears Here. And
okay.
It's a story of the changes that my son's brain cancer put me through, and how I perceived it. So it's really sort of my story of my awakening through that experience, and how my boy, his illness woke me up, and how he responded to it woke me up, and just some of the things that I went through that my perception of events.
Well, from someone like myself who was, I don't know if you know, but I think you do, who has gone through the same similar situation, having 2 tumors removed from my brain a couple of years back.
Oh no, man, I didn't know.
Yeah, and and I know that for me, I mean, and I say for your son Seamus, because I see the love and care you have for your son, and it's a beautiful thing to watch, and it's a beautiful thing to see that support. And I know for myself, like, where I didn't have anybody around me, I had to go through 4 years of treatment and stuff by myself. I mean, it put me in almost a suicidal state. And if you remember, like when I was telling you about that whole, right when we started the SBT Project Foundation, that was was when I was going through my shit the worst, because I was dealing with that, and then dealing with this nut job, as you know, and not having a support system, and I can say this, to people who are watching this, is that, there are a few people that I can say that, without them even knowing it, inspired me to keep fighting, to when I wanted to end it all.
Mm-hmm.
And you were one of those people, man. You were one of those people, number one, that truly I can say that, were very inspirational for me to keep going, because I looked at watching, in the sense, number one, that care that you had. I don't have physical kids, but I have, as you know, my cats, who are my kids, who I love to death.
Mm-hmm.
And I tried to apply that same fight that, of you having to be strong for Seamus, me having to be strong for them, and try to, and I guess I always sort of had this Bill Buchanan in my ear saying to me, damn it, do what I say, get up, and that to me is what I take as a testament, to any person, and my hat's off to you, to be able, number one, to have that strength, because I couldn't imagine, feeling, I'm sure that there's probably nights that you felt helpless, that, because you want to do so much. And I think, like, when I think of you, I think of my dear friend, Christophe St. John, who passed away 2 years ago. And, he played Neil Winters on The Young and the Restless.
Okay,
And
yeah. I just read that.
His son committed suicide and his son was suffered from bipolarism and schizophrenia. So they had put him into a facility, and basically this facility that, they spend thousands and thousands of dollars to give their kid the proper care that he needed. And his son ended up committing suicide in this place. And the facility in Los Angeles, they covered it up. And it went into a big lawsuit afterwards, and the truth came out because, they did some investigation, and the shit was caught on videotape of all the things that they tried to do to cover this thing up. And, Christoph, who was like you, he was an amazing soul, amazing human being. For 3 years, I watched this grief of my brother that, when that even though it wasn't his fault, just like I'm sure when your son gets this diagnosis, on the outside, it's not your fault. You didn't put cancer in him, and you didn't he didn't kill his son. But as a father, when you know that you are powerless to doing anything to change the situation, and I watched Christoph systematically melt down in front of me until, unfortunately, he died, and that to me is when I look at your relationship with your son and the care and the loving, and to be, as of course, in this business where people expect you to be on all the time. Like, just they think when you are at the highest of Bill Buchanan level, and you're this person that's seen in TVs and shows, like, oh my God, they has the the best life. And I always try to tell people, like, what, like, when you strip away what people see of us on TV, they forget that there's a human side to these people. There's a human side to all of us. And, and to me, like, to see your strength, and to now know that you put this into a story. Did you find that it helped heal you with any pain that you were facing?
I think I had been healed from the pain by the time I wrote it, which actually enabled me to write it. But what it did was it helped me step back away from it and look at it as though it was something that happened to another person.
Okay.
And I know that sounds strange, but because it's not how I work as an actor anyway. But it did give me and I keep talking about perspective, but it gave me a perspective on this event, so that I could, and the response to it generally has, first of all, it's a comedy.
Okay.
It's not really, but it does have some funny stuff in it. But for the response to it has been, people coming up to me and talking about their experiences with cancer, their experiences with having a loved one who battled cancer, or a life-threatening disease. Some so that has been the revelation about it, is that people recognize themselves in my story. And so, going back to what we were discussing earlier, if we can do that, because that's what was done to us to make us want to do this. If we can do that to one other person, it doesn't have to be more than 5 people. It's like, I read years ago, somebody asked a really famous actor, I forget who it was, if you couldn't make your living doing this, would you still do it? And he said, oh hell yeah, I'd do it for 10 people, I'd do it for 20 people. And that's because, all that other stuff doesn't matter. Those trappings, the fame, the money, even the money, man. Seriously, when it comes down to it, and that's another thing that has given us, that this last year has given us perspective on, because, 99% of us aren't making the money that we made the year before.
100% of that, yeah.
I mean, to a large degree in many cases. And so, man, you know, we've got to find ways to look out for each other. That's my thing. And that's really the thrust of the play, is because I talk about the people that were there for us and what they did for us through that experience. The people that brought us dinner, the people that reached out to us and you know, gave us a machine that put stars on the ceiling in the hospital room so we wouldn't be trapped in this universe that was, you know, or a sound machine so we wouldn't have to hear the beeps of the people that were in pain down the hall. I mean, the people that came to us and said, man, I have to help you. When we thanked them. That's, I think that was the biggest thing. And that's basically the thrust of my play. And is that, you know, through this experience, I learned not to take so much for granted, and also that we need to be here for each other.
Do you plan? Was that the play that you were telling me about the other day that you were working on, like in the September? Or is that a different one?
Yeah, hopefully that'll come to fruition, and if not, we'll do it somewhere else. I mean, it's you know, when people start seeing live theater again, I'm going to be ready. I'm going to be ready to just walk this out and do it. So that's my goal. You know.
How was it for you? I mean, I know you recently just came back from New York.
Thanks.
And you were shooting a project. Was that your first project, you know, to COVID that you were shooting?
I'm sorry, which one?
The one you just, I think you just came back. Didn't you just come back from New York?
I was doing a Law and Order SVU. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, yeah, another episode. Okay.
Yeah, the same role I did. Amanda Rollins' father.
Father. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, that was the last time I worked, was in New York, right at the beginning of this thing. I mean, we were talking like February, first, second week of February, and everybody was going, hey, what's this thing? There's this thing coming. It's making people sick. What is this? And people were starting to wear masks, and nobody was shaking hands anymore. And then I came home and everything shut down. And so going back under these circumstances, first of all, they're lovely people. And I love doing the part with them.
You fit that role perfectly, because you literally look like her dad. Like you look like you could be her dad.
I mean, and I met her real father. He was there on the set when I was working, and we got a picture together. I mean, we could be brothers.
Wow.
It was frightening.
So like how was, I mean, I know everyone's had different approach. How was that for you under these new COVID restrictions, in the sense, as a performer? Like, did you have to adjust your style in any way, and did you find it uncomfortable having to wear a mask throughout the whole process? Or like,
no, you know, it goes back to what I said about, you know, you adapt to the circumstances. If you've done the work, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you're working in the ceiling caves in. You'll find a way to incorporate the caved-in ceiling into the scene because you've done the work. I mean, it just doesn't matter. You're going to adapt your you know, you're going to adapt your work to the circumstances that you're in.
Do you ever feel?
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, but do you ever feel like now the way that, especially, I mean, for example, like, I don't know how they shot that, but I'm assuming due to the fact that, you know, the way that I know majority of NBC shows shoot is that it's more of a closed environment, more of a closed sort of circle per se, whether it be indoors or a smaller space setup. Do you feel that, like, now because of that, it will affect, you know, productions and stuff like that for years to come?
No, I don't think so. I think it's listen, we're going to get through this. It's a lot of things are going to be different, but you know, we're going to go back to normal in a lot of ways, because these things happen cyclically, and we recover from them. I mean, it changes us, and we view things differently. Maybe, you know, hopefully it makes us better people, and we'll learn a lot from this. As any life-changing event, you know, you hope it has that effect on you. But I was thinking earlier, you know, we were talking about being on video and stuff, and how everybody's doing auditions online now, or they're self-taping, or you know, Zoom rooms, man. And I've done, like, for the last year, Zoom theater, a lot of it, and a class a group that I meet with on weekends.
Okay.
at the BGB studios, Risa Brayman Garcia, and you know, writers and actors that get together and read their stuff or write for each other and work on stuff. And there's no loss of intimacy or connection. I mean, if you're willing to commit and submit and focus and be present and listen, I mean, we would be having the same exact conversation with the same connection if we were in the same room together, man. Now, you get with somebody who's not willing to do that, it doesn't matter where they are either. They're just not going to be willing to do that.
True.
So I don't know. We're going to find. I think we're going to find the things that are better about ourselves through this.
Do you think that the casting process now? Because a lot of people think that the casting process will probably stay more this way than being in person.
I don't know, man. You know, I was actually casting director, who's a dear friend, came up to see us the other day. She and her husband and I said. We were talking about the Zoom rooms and the auditions, and she was telling me how, you know, the issues that she has with it, and I said, she said, so what do you think? Do you think this is going to be a thing? I mean, I said, what are you asking me for? I'm not. I said, you guys are the ones who are going to decide this. I'm just along for the ride. I mean, it's not up to me. You guys are going to say what you want to do and where you want to go back to, and what the directors want to be. You know, some directors are going to adapt to this better than others. You know, some want to be in the room. Some, you know, I'm sure they want to see. But listen, and she talked about chemistry readings. She used that term, and I've never heard that term before.
Never?
No.
Yeah, because chemistry reading is more. I mean, it's more used in daytime and in general, just because a lot of those scenes are more intimate. They're more love scenes. They're more type of storytelling of those scenes where you can have a great actor, but if the actor doesn't per se, you know, look as believable when they're kissing someone or holding somebody.
Yeah, no, I mean, I know what chemistry is. I mean, I just never, I didn't know that there was such a thing as and I guess I've been involved in it. I you know, certainly now thinking back, of course I have, but they didn't call them that. So I was kind of thrown by that term, and I mean, but it's clear if you don't have chemistry with somebody, if you have chemistry with somebody, you're going to have it in this environment or any environment, or you're not. I mean, it's not like I don't know, but people work in different ways. I mean, some directors have you read 5 times. Some directors don't have you read at all, man. They can just meet with you over breakfast and talk about the you know, what's going on in the world, and just go, yeah, you know what, you're perfect for this. I mean, when I auditioned for Twin Peaks, for David Lynch, my audition was sitting in the casting director's office talking to her. We talked about a half hour. They recorded the conversation, and the only requirement was that we not talk about anything to do with show business, which is fine with me. And so we had this great conversation, and we went all over the place. And so David could watch that tape and go, where can I put this guy? And he figured it out. I mean, that's how he works. Other directors want to hear you know, you do it 5 times. They want to, and other people just go, I don't know how to tell you how to do this, so I guess I'm not going to cast you. And I've had that happen to me.
What's for you? What is your audition process like? Do you have a certain technique that you stick with, or do you just do you change it up?
I'm throwing a kiss to Italy. Somebody just kissed me from Italy. I know you.
What's up, Italy?
Yeah. I'm sorry. Say it again.
I was saying for you, like, do you have a certain technique to your audition process, or do you try it a different way? Like, I mean, everyone has their approach. Like, when you're going into any bit of a character, do you have a certain way to prep yourself before you audition?
You know, it depends. I mean, I just try to be as accurate as I can. I mean, because they want to just see that you understand the material, and if you look right for the part. I mean, I'm in the kind of things that I've cast, that's 90% of it.
If someone was to ask you right now, what is the difference between James Morrison and Bill Buchanan?
You know, you know, this is one of the ways that I was fortunate in this, and I don't use the term blessed very often, but I was blessed with this job, that part to do, because you know they really and in fact with Glen Morgan, working with Glen Morgan too on Space Above and Beyond,
Okay.
they're great observers of what the actor brings, of the energy that the actor brings. And in fact, Glenn and I would have conversations, and he would incorporate things about my private life or ideas that I had about things that I liked, or
Okay.
and I think this might be a strange way to answer your question, but I remember I think it was Greg Itzon's son.
He's so good.
Yeah,
So good.
Greg is great. Yeah, he was on the set one day and he said to me, "Oh yeah, you're Bill Buchanan. Oh my God, man!" He said, "You're the compassionate one." And I thought, "Oh my God, that's like the best compliment I could ever get."
Mm-hmm.
And so when I was talking to Howard one day, and I never went upstairs. I never went up there, and I just thought maybe if I just don't ever let them see me, they won't decide they're going to write me out of the show or something. I don't know.
Hiding in the basement.
I didn't spend much time with them. But I told Howard that, and somebody, I think it was Robert Cochran actually, said, you know, compassion is just the last thing on my mind when we're writing this part for you.
Well, that's
So
good
I
that
went,
you
okay.
good that you brought him up. Because when I look at, you know, the way that the world is now, and that 24 was, you know, 10 years now out, that character of Charles Logan,
Mm-hmm.
in similar comparison to the president that we had the last 4 years, like, do you feel that like 24 it had a way of predicting storytelling like The Simpsons, of seeing what we're seeing now
Yeah,
in the
no, I
world?
don't, man. No.
So if you were to compare the two of, you know, Logan and that
I mean,
character,
if that's true, man, where's Chloe when we need her? Because you know, we do need her. She's nowhere to be found, you know.
so for you, in the sense, number one, like, you know, you've had, you know, since '84 to now over 107, you know, projects under your belt. What keeps you going? What motivates you to keep going? And have you ever also thought about transforming? Because as I said before, like, in this business for longevity, I feel you've got to play different hats. No matter, like, it doesn't have to be in the same realm, but different hats to sort of keep yourself rejuvenated, re-energized, refocused, something to feed off of. Have you ever thought about like directing more or producing more, or like taking a time off from the acting, or like, or again, like, what keeps you going this long, and how much
Well,
longer do you see yourself doing this for?
until I can't do it anymore for whatever reason, but it's because it's just what I do. I mean, I've
Mm-hmm.
done it so long, and it's what I do. And frankly, I'm not good at anything else, and I don't have fun doing anything else. It's like I told you, man. You know, I had all these jobs, and even when I was you know, struggling as an actor, I had a lot of, you know, uh, civilian jobs to make the ends meet. You know, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I've done a lot of stuff. I was a teamster and a waiter, and you know, furniture stripper. I mean, I've done a lot of jobs.
Mm-hmm.
The list would probably astound you from the time I started working when I was about 14, 13, 14. This was the one that I found that the idea of disappearing into a make-believe world,
Mm-hmm.
and then when it's over, stepping out and going, man, where was I? What happened?
Mm-hmm.
Because I became that person. That to me is like the that's what I'm chasing. That's what I'm chasing, and it happens, uh, you know, maybe half the time.
Someone asked a question. They're saying, "Do you still keep in touch with the cast from 24?"
Let's see, who did I talk to last? Mary Lynn, yeah. Talked to Mary Lynn. You know, we communicate every once in a while on Twitter. We'll, you know, give a shout out, but I talked to her on the phone She was going to try to come up to see the play. In fact, up to Ojai to see the
You got to
performance.
let me know when you do that, bro. I want to come support you and when it does come up.
And, and I called her specifically because I had seen her one person show, her stand up.
Okay.
And I just said, I just wanted to let you know that I've got a ticket for you if you want to come. I'd love to have you here because I love you so. And so we talked at length, and then she was going to try to. It's hard to come up. It's 90 miles away from home, So, but so let's see. And Carlos and I are in touch. When we are in touch.
I know he's doing a lot of directing now.
I've seen some friends and talked to some friends in the crew. I mean, like I said, when you run across them on set too, you walk onto a set that you have been on, and you, oh my God, I haven't seen you since 24. It's just like no time passed. I mean, we were close.
So let's play a game then. Word association. Mary Lynn, in one word or less, or more.
Incredibly observant.
Carlos Bernard.
That's 2 words.
Carlos Bernard.
Funny as hell.
Kiefer Sutherland.
Focused.
Reiko Ainsworth.
Oh God, I spent so little time with her. Beautiful.
Xander Berkeley.
Xander and I never worked together.
Never?
No. I mean, we met. In fact, we made arrangements to meet and have coffee.
Mm-hmm.
I think through Twitter or Facebook. We just said, "Well, how have we not worked together, man?"
That would be iconic to see you guys on screen together. Iconic.
But I mean, over the years, because we've both been at this for a long time, and it's just that we've never been in the same thing. So we had a great lunch together, and of course we've been friends ever since. So. Yeah.
Who would I say next? Marissa Nichols. Marisol Nichols.
Marisol Nichols. Yeah. Oh, she's funny too. We had a great time working together.
And for you, do you have any? Because I mean, you've done so much in your career. 2 things. Is there anyone out there that you haven't worked with that you would like to work with? And second, who was your inspirations, either growing up or even now, as an actor?
I can't, frankly, think of anybody that comes to my mind, or people that I would love. I mean, of course, there are, the Anthony Hopkins. And
your top 3. Give me your top 3.
I would say Tony Hopkins, and oh God.
And is this who inspired you, or is this who you want to work with? Who you'd like to work with?
Oh yeah, no. I mean, guys like Peter O'Toole and Anthony Hopkins. When I was a kid, I saw these guys, and I just went, "That's what I want to do, man." Christopher Lloyd.
Okay.
Speaking of, just because I remember when I was like 20, 21 years old, and One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest came out, and his shot at the end of that thing when the chief throws the thing out the window and he runs out and he's free, and that look on his face, Christopher Lloyd's,
Mm-hmm.
And I saw him up here in a coffee shop, and I said, man, I tell people that had an impact on me. I said, I just wanted to let you know that you're one of the reasons I became an actor. I mean, I saw that moment, and I just said, I want to do that. I want to make,
Mm-hmm.
I want to make somebody feel the way you just made me feel.
Mm-hmm.
In a project that's beautiful and meaningful and life affirming, life altering. I mean, that book and that movie. Let's face it, one of the greatest stories ever told. And in that moment, I just went, and that was after the whole film of that, But that one moment just went, it really struck me. So I thanked him for that.
Mm-hmm.
And man, he was so moved. And I thought, You know, it reminded me of the story that Graham Nash tells in his book. I don't know if you read his book, Graham Nash of Crosby, Stills and Nash.
Yeah, I know what that is. Yeah, I've read the book.
Yeah, yes. So he's talking about when he met the Everly Brothers when he was in high school in northern England. They came
Hmm.
to on tour, and he and his friend, who eventually they formed the Hollies together. Alan, I think his name was, waited outside the hotel. They were high school kids
Hmm.
because the Everly Brothers influenced them so deeply.
Hmm.
And they waited for them, and it was raining, and they showed up at 1 o'clock in the morning, and they just said, these kids said to the Everly Brothers, "Man, we love you so much. We've got all your harmonies down. We did let's." So they spent like the next hour with them
Hmm.
standing under the awning of this hotel, Phil and Don Everly talking to these kids, and Graham Nash said, that made me do what I do today, what I've done all these years, because if those guys had blown me off and just said, yeah, whatever, you know how people do. He said, I don't know if I would even become a singer or songwriter.
Hmm.
And so he said, that's why I treat people with respect when they come up to me and thank me or thank me for the tunes or however it's done, you know.
Did you
And
did
that really moved me when he said
did
that.
you find for yourself, like, what did you find was the harder process? Writing your first album, doing your first play, or doing your first television show?
Well, certainly doing that thing after my mother died, that was pretty difficult, pretending to be a stripper with no music. I mean, that was just hilarious. But like I had a guitar teacher at the time.
Hmm.
Uh, this was when I was on 24, so it was what 15 years ago, 17 years ago. Oh my
Wow,
God.
Jesus Christ! It's seriously been that long?
I think it has, man. So we were playing, and he said, "So have you ever written a song?" And I said, "Yeah, I did when I was in my early 20s. I wrote a couple. Why don't you lay one down for me, man?" So I said, "Okay, can I do it next time so I can sort of prepare it?" And he said, "Yeah." So I
Hmm.
came back and I played a couple of songs that I'd written and a couple that I was working on, like by myself, like you said, Kiefer was talking about. Just
Hmm.
I just play for myself and
Hmm.
never play for anybody else. So I played them, and he said, "Wow!" And he started playing with me. We were jamming on them. And he said, you should keep writing. Write some more. You have any more? Yeah, I do. And I just went, wow, that was easier than I thought. And he just gave me permission to do that. And I talk about that a lot, getting permission. And I talked about it the other day in the class that I'm in. And we need that. We need that from each other. We need that support. We need that encouragement. But we also need to do that for ourselves. So it's important that we get that, and that's what the Everly Brothers gave those kids, man. They gave them permission to follow their dreams, right?
Hmm. Thank you, guys. I want to welcome you guys to Hot Topic Celeb TV. If you're just joining in now, special guest tonight, James Morrison, aka Bill Buchanan from 24. If you have a question for James, we're going to be wrapping this up shortly. If you have a question for James, please drop it in the comments below and we will answer your question. I will take one live caller if you want to send in a request. The next person who sends in a request, I will accept you into the chat if you want to ask a question to James live and direct. So for you, in the sense, number one, what is, like, with your music and your play, like, what's next for you? That, because you said you've had this iconic career over these last 2 decades. What's next? Like, what is there anything you haven't done yet that you're like, okay, I need to cross this off my bucket list?
Oh yeah, I'd love to do a play in New York. I haven't since I was 21, and it was an off Broadway thing, but it was really wonderful. So that's probably one of them. But the other thing is to see my play through to production and perform it, 300, 500, 600 times.
Do you want to take it on the road, like to different places, or you just want to do it out of
Oh yeah,
LA?
I'd do that. Sure, I'd do that, and then lay it down on film and see if we can get a nice, videotape production of it.
So for you, did you ever consider, as I said before, like what, I know that you said this is the only thing you know how to do. Have you ever considered, stepping back from the acting and focusing more on directing and producing?
No, I've directed a few plays, and I love that because I feel really at home there, and I feel at home on a film set too. But there's too much
Headache.
Yeah, I mean, you have to just think about and the time pressure and like I had a director friend, Larry Shaw, that I worked with, years ago in Utah. He ended up directing a lot of stuff and out here, but and he said, it's the director comes onto the set, TV director comes onto the set, and he's like, "Hey, everybody, let's have some fun. We're gonna, get this thing done." And at the end of the shoot, he's just spent all that time jumping over the hands of the clock as they tick by, and he leaves like an old man, okay, see you later. He's just wreck.
And it is a lot of pressure, man.
Yeah, so I don't know if I want to do that. That's I want to have more fun than that.
So what for you, like when you are, I know you're heavily into yoga. How did that come about, and what made you want to be a teacher of that?
Well, let's see if I can do this in 25 words or less.
And also, before you say that, where can people who want to either take a class with you? Is there a place that they can go to register or something?
No, I don't teach anymore. But I will say kind of one amusing story about when I did teach when I was doing 24 at the same time.
Okay.
Somebody showed up for my class, and I don't know how many people were in the class, 40, 50. And everybody was filing out at the end after the final resting pose, Shavasana. And she stopped me. She said, I just have to tell you that when I heard you when you were talking to us about relaxing and in Shavasana, I felt like I was in CTU. I mean, I just said, wow, that's such an awkward, uncomfortable place for you to be in your final resting pose, because CTU was so stressful. I'm sorry. And she said, no, it was relaxing, but I kept, how I became how I got deep into my yoga practice was because I was in a completely demoralizing work experience.
Okay.
It was a play that I was doing at the Old Globe in San Diego. And it was such a bad experience. My wife was pregnant with my boy,
okay,
which was beautiful, but it was a terrible work experience. And I just hit sort of this bottom that I hadn't experienced since I hit the bottom that got me sober. And so I just had to find something that would help me, that would draw me back out of this demoralized state. So I started studying yoga, and I met this guy who was Frank White, who was when I met him, he was like 80 years old, teaching at the Center for Yoga, and he saved me from I think myself, and he's the one who encouraged me to be a teacher. So I went to White Lotus Foundation in Santa Barbara and studied to be a teacher.
So I asked you before, and I don't think you answered it, the differences for yourself, between James Morrison, Bill Buchanan, if they were to meet in person.
Well, if I was to meet him in person, I would say, I think it's time for me to be committed. Because that's like a level of schizophrenia or something that I just, it's hard because it's a fictional guy. It's
but who he was as a person compared to you.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think the best way I can answer that is when Howard Gordon called me to tell me that it was the phone call that he hated to make. When they were telling me that the next episode would be my last.
Okay.
He said, I said to him, listen, I've had the time of my life. I'm grateful to you till my dying breath. can I just ask one thing? And I'm not trying to pitch a storyline or anything, but can you make it a good one?
Mm-hmm.
And he said, oh yeah, I think we can. I said, can it have something to do with sort of tying in the torture issue? Because, as it turns out, the reason that I had to do that, the reason that events transpired that I had to make that sacrifice as Bill, was because I didn't torture that guy to find out what I needed to find out, like Jeff had asked me to it, as I remember it.
Mm-hmm.
And I sort of, that was the difference between us. He would do whatever it took. I would only do to a certain point, but I would turn my head the other way if he needed to do it.
If James Morrison had to make that decision, would he make that decision? The same decision as Bill Buchanan?
That's why I said that to Howard. I said, I want that to be, his legacy, because it's how I feel. Yeah.
Hold on, we're going to take a... Yeah, go on, continue. No, continue what you're saying.
I mean, that was it.
Hold on, we're going to take
he honored that, yeah.
Hold on, we're going to take a fan in here. Hold on.
Oh, great.
Hold on. Let me see if I can. I'm going to take a fan in here if I can connect. It's going to let me do this. Hold on.
While you're doing that, I'm going to answer this question.
Yep.
Jay is asking, will you have a new CD album out anytime soon? No, Jay, I'm not working on anything right now. But I'll keep you posted, man. Thank you for asking.
Thanks not letting me do this. Hold on.
Modern technology, buddy.
I know. Yeah. About your music, you said that you're not working on a new CD right now.
No, but I am learning how to play the piano. So we were talking about emulating certain people.
That was my first love. That was my first instrument I learned how to play, man, was the piano. And I still,
I wish I had.
With piano, you have to stay at it, like to really, because once you even like I haven't played in a few years, and I every once in a while I get back on the keyboard, and even my fingers, arthritis, of course, they don't move the same way as it is when you're doing it. Do you have that problem when you're playing guitar? Like if you don't play for a while?
Yeah, adjust your camera there, D.
So sure, sorry.
Yeah. Oh, good, thanks. Oh yeah, if you don't play, I mean, you get good at what you practice, but you also don't get good if you don't practice. I mean, you lose your calluses, you lose your, it's just like anything, man. You gotta keep the muscle toned up, right?
So,
but I don't know, because I don't read music, and I don't know a lot about music theory.
You don't read music?
So, no.
So how did you learn how to play? Just that you were like me when I learned.
Yeah, and then I know some things I know now, but when I first started, I mean, it was just all by ear and instinctive stuff, and I just wanted to go a little deeper and see if that opens something up, and it really already has. So,
where for people, if they want to get your music or download your music, where can they get it at?
Oh, well, you can go to the website that Helen Kelly made for me.
What's the website?
jpmorrison.com.
All right, guys, jpmorrison.com. If you ever want to hear some of James's music or download it, go to that website there.
And it's also got a link. There's a link there to my plays website too. It's a separate website, but if you want to know more about that.
Did you ever think about, because I mean you're such a prolific teacher per se. Did you ever think about teaching a master class of acting?
Oh no. I taught for a while. Was it not last year? That was the pandemic year.
Mm-hmm.
The year before that, I taught for almost a year, 10 months, 11 months or something, at the BGB Studios. And I guess I needed to get that out of my system. I had some stuff to share that I wanted to give that was given me, and I think that's what motivated me. But no, I don't want to teach acting anymore.
Just
I'd
not
rather
your.
just do it.
Rather just do
I
it.
mean, I'd rather do it than listen. I love it. I'm a big fan of actors and acting, but I don't want to spend a lot of time talking about it. Or and I love actors. Generally speaking.
What's been throughout this pandemic? What's been your go-to binge show that you've been watching?
Oh man, we love Peaky Blinders.
What's that about? I never even heard that.
Oh yeah, it's a great British show about a gang in northern England in the
Okay.
20s, in the late teens and 20s, around the time of World War One, just
Okay.
after World War One. Oh my God, man!
I'll have to look. What's it
That
called
one,
again?
Peaky Blinders.
I'll have to look it up. Okay. And it's on Netflix?
And I don't know. I don't know now. Netflix or Amazon.
Okay.
One of them. The other one was, we finally got into Better Call Saul. That's I think our favorite one. Hadn't watched that. So yeah, we just watched. I Know This Much Is True, the Mark Ruffalo thing with Rosie O'Donnell too. What a great cast, and it was just beautifully done. The Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, man, was one of the best things I've ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
I wish that had been a series, but it's such a brilliant play, so well done.
I'll recommend two shows for you if you haven't watched them yet that are almost up to 24 binge worthy. A show called Wentworth, which is it is absolutely. I didn't leave my house for 10 days watching that show. And the other show I would recommend is a show called Line of Duty, which is another show on Netflix, which is another UK. And this is the thing I've said, like the UK actors, to me, there's a reason why they're putting us all out of work, because there's a certain style, the way that they shoot things, and exactly what you said, like, that dynamite sort of thing.
Yeah.
And their approach to the art of acting, to me, is always been why these shows become these home runs. There's another show I would recommend if you watch foreign films. It's all in subtitles, but it is literally, when I say, one of the most beautiful pieces of storytelling I've probably seen since West Side Story. And it's a show called I, Twan Class on Netflix. So it's I, Twan Class. It's an Asian film, but it's all in subtitles, but it is absolutely, when I say, brilliant from start to finish. It's 16 episodes. And it tells a true story of hard work. It tells a true story of bullying, racism, a person who's the underdog who has to fight. And it's almost like if you've ever seen, Rudy, the movie, but this is like a different version where, you really want, it's almost like one of those shows where you really want to root for a character to win. You really want to root for a guy to win. And I remember, like, when someone put it on, I was like, and I kept seeing the comments on Facebook, and I was like, I ain't watching no foreign, because it's like to watch a foreign film with no English, but then I put it on and I watched the subtitles, and it was the only series that I've ever watched an entire show of subtitles all the way through, but I was hooked where I could not turn it off. And if you really want to watch something beautiful with your family, I'm telling you, watch that series. Okay, I will. I've got it written down here. So I, Twan Class, Wentworth, and Line of Duty. Okay. Absolute thrillers. And to me, anyone, come on, Wentworth, Line of Duty, Peaky Brothers, 24, all my favorites. I've got them. Okay. I've got them. A lot of fans here love Line of, it's a great show, man. Michael, hold on. Oh, see, yeah, people agree with it. Oh, listen, I remembered my friend Randy's name. Okay. I knew it. Randy Stone. Randy Stone, rest in peace. Casting director. In fact, if there's one person that I can credit with, I wouldn't have the career that I have without Randy Stone.
And look, and I don't know where that block came from, but I'm not going to beat myself up about it. All right.
No, I think he knows wherever he's at. He knows in the sense the inspiration, and then I think it's about pushing the goalpost forward, because you know what, if he hadn't pushed you and inspired you to do what you're doing, and for me, I know exactly what you said. Like, there's certain actors, people that we grew up watching that inspire us to say, okay, you know what, let me take this chance. And as I said, it was like guys like you, guys like Kiefer, like guys like people number one that I love now as brothers. But you guys, to me, it's like when I'm able to get that inspiration, and as I said, see the length and longevity of your career, it's something that any actor per se number one, you know, because you look at it this way. There's a lot of other actors, as you know, who have maybe massive names, but then their resume isn't like yours, where it's long. They've had a great show, they were on that, and then they sort of fade out and become this iconic. But for you, you've played all these different layers. And I remember, like, there was a show, I'm trying to remember what show it was, and you played a villain, and it was recent. I'm trying to remember what it was, and it was kind of a weird show. Like, it was almost like you were like a cult leader or some shit. I remember I messaged you about it one night. The fuck was it? You played some sort of like scientist, and you're in this like underground. The fuck was the name of the show? And I was shocked to even see you on. I'm trying to remember what the hell, because I didn't know what it was. And I remember I texted you, and I'm like, it didn't have the name on the TV, so I couldn't get what it was because I was just watching it. And all of a sudden you popped up, and it was the end of the movie, and I was like, fuck, I want to go back and watch what this is. It was recent. It was within the last year. It was on TV, and let me see if I can try to remember the name of it. Hold on.
You know, I think those guys that you're talking about, maybe too, they're maybe a little bit more selective than I am.
Hold on, let me see if I can. You play like you played some sort of doctor, like some sort of medical, and you ended up basically like you died in the end of the film.
If it's the thing I think you're talking about, I'm not even going to tell you what the name of it is because I hope nobody ever sees it.
Listen, man, I actually enjoyed it. So if it is the same thing, because you know why? I think why I enjoy it, and I think that people would enjoy it because when I didn't even think, you don't even think Bill Buchanan. You don't think your character in, a Space Above and Beyond. Like, it was something different to me that gives you a different layer. And even too, like with this layer that you're playing on Law and Order of Amanda Rollins' father. Mm-hmm. It's like another layer there, like number one, that I think that it's beautiful that people are able to see, to me, what I've always seen, your brilliance. And I think that's why, like, number one, like to me, when I look at, Gregory Eisen, who played Charles Logan, and I'm like, if there was one play that I would love to see two leads, it'd be you and him. Because I just think that would be something incredible to watch, just because the way that, literally that guy can play emotions with just his face, with just, without even saying a word, and I think that was the thing that I always say, like when you look at certain artists, true artists of the craft, that that you're able to sort of gravitate. And that's why I said, like, whenever I go now, even for an audition or approach of a character, I try to take pieces, and I literally I watch 24